Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Ukraine has essentially agreed to give the US access to $500 billion worth of rare earth minerals to recoup its aid funding, and so said President Donald Trump after talks with President Zelensky. This follows a statement by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, who told Reuters on Friday that he wanted to, quote, do a deal with Trump in return for continued military support and security guarantees. Are the contours of a peace deal starting to take shape? Well, to explore this, we're joined by Roger Hilton, Defense and Security Research Fellow at GLOBSEC. Welcome to TVP World, Mr. Hilton, and thanks for taking the time.
Good morning, dzień dobry.
Good morning, and dzień dobry to you too. So let's start with, there's a lot of energy going into finding some kind of solution for this conflict in Ukraine, this war in Ukraine. Let's start with the telephone calls between President Trump and President Putin and President Zelensky, obviously not all at the same time. What do you make of those conversations?
Obviously there's quite a bit to unpack given all of the news yesterday. I think like a lot of people, I'm speaking strictly for myself, I think everybody was exceptionally blindsided before going to bed last night to receive the push notification that there had been some back channeling and that they would be meeting. There might have been some signs that everybody missed with Russia releasing some American prisoners. But on the outsets of it, Trump had his Truth Social post talking about they need to come to the table or there will be sanctions. But if I'm being honest with you, Hashim, we will talk about rare earth minerals today, but I think the potential visit or the visit of Treasury Secretary Bessent to actually explore the rare earth minerals and the financial opportunities there might have been something that Putin recognized, saying, okay, this is something that Trump is very interested in, so it's our turn to come to the table. So again, very unfortunate for allies the way everybody was blindsided, but it's just one meeting and it's way too early to speculate what the outcomes will be, given sort of that if Trump sits down with Putin in Riyadh and he doesn't like what he says or he thinks he's the loser, he can just walk away from it, as he's shown he can do.
Right, okay, but here's the thing. Putin's made it very clear in the past that he has no intentions of sitting down with Zelensky, unless Zelensky holds elections. He's not really interested in any kind of peace deal on the terms that Zelensky has asked for. Is there a warming in Putin's attitude to the idea of some kind of ceasefire, if not a full-blown peace deal?
Sorry, Hashim, did you say it was for Putin or Zelensky who was looking for that?
Sorry, Putin was saying that he wouldn't talk to Zelensky directly unless Zelensky had, re-elections or elections.
Well, I think sort of not that anybody's surprised about Russian foreign political interference. I think Russia's efforts to try to break Ukraine internally, whether it's destroying the energy infrastructure, constant pressure, has failed. So I think that's one soft spot that they were looking to exploit with regards to sort of making elections and maybe saying that Zelensky was an illegitimate leader. I think given, this 3-day special military operation, February 24th is around the corner for it. Given all of the financial hardships, the difficulties that the Russian economy is facing, and let's be honest, the sanctions have not totally accomplished or been persuading the behavior. But I think Putin is saying that, at least from his perspective, he needs to buy some more time. He needs to recuperate from an industrial side. They need to get their manpower in order. So I think more than ever, given the weakened state that they are internally in Russia, it's something that they at least want to sit down and explore the possibilities on.
Understood. So you believe that he's being forced to the table simply because of internal Russian difficulties. Okay, well, we shall see. Now, on the other side of the coin, President Zelensky, he's prepared to do a deal, and that deal has been on the table since before President Trump. I think that President Trump's the first one to actually pick it up. What do you think the contours of that deal are going to look like?
Well, I think, again, throughout this whole course of the war, President Zelensky hasn't just been great for rallying his own people, but he's always been innovative in trying to explain, the raison d'etre about why Western support was critical. Unfortunately, a lot of the bread and butter issues of democracy and freedom that might have resonated with another administration has dried up. So, I think, as I said, whether it's him or those working in the presidential office like Mr. Yermak, I think they realized that this was the best chance at trying to continue the military support and financial aid from the United States. And as I said, I mean, this is this is the best option they have at the table. I think it provides a lot of flexibility for what the administration is looking to accomplish. And it's again, way too early to see what will happen. But I mean, it's unbelievably difficult for Zelensky given what he had. And, this was on the table before, but I think they've taken and run with it with the new administration.
Understood. Now, interesting comment by Treasury Secretary Besant, who said that this deal could provide some kind of security guarantee for Ukraine. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, obviously, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody that the Trump administration has made access to rare earth minerals one of their priorities, without going into some of the specifics, whether it's with my country in Canada or in Denmark. So in that sense, I mean, I think the implications or what he's alluding to is that, the workers and the mining and the refinement of these rare earth minerals needs to be done under an umbrella of security. And maybe the quid pro quo is that if you're processing these minerals, there'll be anti-air systems, there'll be artillery, there'll be ways to protect it. So again, I don't know if it's a straight up quid pro quo, but it's just unthinkable to think that you could access these large mineral reserves and the massive industrial sites are needed to protect, to actually do the work without sufficient protection.
Okay, but who are the boots on the ground there? Do you see U.S. troops or NATO troops or, troops from Central and Eastern Europe?
Yeah, I mean, Secretary of State Hegseth, categorically yesterday ruled out that there would be American troops on the ground. And he made it a very, his language was quite interesting about European and non-European countries being on the ground. Maybe that's, a reference to Canada having to do it. I think people are going to have to evolve. 6 months ago, I think if you had gone to Paris or Berlin or London, they would have said there's no way we're going to put troops on the ground. But the dynamics have changed quite a bit already over one night. So I think it will force European capitals to at least reconsider what's possible. But again, that's a very, very tall order, Hashim, given, even if you think of Germany, who's leading a battalion in Lithuania, Canada, who's also leading one in Latvia. I mean, they're having manpower issues just to put those small pieces together in the Baltics. So, I mean, having between 50 to 200,000 troops on the ground to secure the border is possible, but it's a very Herculean challenge at the moment.
Understood. Now, NATO, we recently saw a live press conference which included Pete Hegseth and Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General, and they seem to be singing off the same hymn sheets there. Do you see there is being more alignment certainly between the new administration and the rest of NATO?
Well, I mean, if we unpack the visit yesterday of Secretary Hegseth, I mean, first off, he came out and said categorically that the U.S. is still committed to the transatlantic alliance, which I think is something that everybody wanted to hear. Whether you're in Warsaw, Tallinn, Riga, Vilnius, I mean, I think you can assume that means still an ironclad agreement for Article 5. And then he did say, that the current imbalance in terms of burden sharing has to change. And I do think that's music to the ears of Mark Rutte, because he can say that 24 of the 32 NATO members are now spending a minimum of 2%. As you started off the program, Poland is unbelievable, looking to spend 4.7%. And ahead of the Hague summit, I think Mark Rutte has already said that the floor has to be north of 3%. So if those are the two main takeaways about the U.S. is still committed to NATO and that the imbalances need to be corrected, which are on the way of being corrected, overall, despite sort of what came out when it comes to Ukraine, I think from a transatlantic perspective, it was all right.
Understood. Unfortunately, we're going to have to end our chat there, Roger, but do come back and share your analysis with our audience again. Have a good day.
All the best, everybody.
Thanks. Cheers now. That's all from us on this episode of World Talks. Goodbye.